A bizarre plan to capture Elvis. Fantasy film adventure in Heartbreak Hotel in an hour. And we continue the Elvis season now. Strong language as BBC One hangs out with the guys who knew him best.
Elvis Presley may be the most infamous and imitated performer of all time, but until now, no one has told the inside story.
Here's a guy go out in front of 30,000 people and do a show to knock your brains out, but he didn't want to be around anybody.
I know.
He only trusted the immediate group.
Why can't you see?
That elite group serviced Elvis's every whim and pleasure. Now, 25 years after his death, they've chosen to break their silence and tell us their story, their way.
It was like being in a whorehouse with a credit card. It was really unbelievable. It was, you know, it never stopped.
I was committed to take the bullet for Elvis. I was committed to take the stool, the knife, the club, whatever it was that was coming at him, I was going to get in front of it.
And he had these gold-plated .22s, and he said, look, I love you, but if you don't shut up, you old son of a bitch, I'm going to blow your head off.
You know, so many stories have circulated over the years about Elvis was a drug taker. Well, there is some truth into that. But if you don't have the real story, and if you weren't there to see it, there's no way you can know what was really going on.
Graceland in Memphis, Tennessee. Not just a fortress for the king, but home to a unique gang of minders that formed a human shield between the most famous entertainer on earth and all those who wanted a piece of him. They would remain faithful courtiers to their king, like no entourage before or since.
Everybody likes to have a big wing over them that you don't get cold and the rain doesn't fall on you. Everybody likes that. We had it. I mean, we closed those gates behind us and, you know, outside of God, nobody could get to us.
Elvis was fascinated by the power and seclusion of the big Mafia families. He wanted his own private army to keep the real world at bay.
Elvis got on this kick wearing suits, and we always thought that black mohair suits looked sharp.
We all got into this in black mohair suits, black shirt, black tie, like a bunch of mob guys, you know. We get in a limousine and take off, get out of the car. It was exciting.
We stayed up all night and never saw the sunshine. Our skin was, you know, extremely white. And if we ever went out in the daytime, we had to wear these very dark sunglasses.
I think there was a reporter there or somebody just wrote an article about Elvis in town and all his boys, and he called us the Memphis Mafia.
And then somehow it stuck. And since then, we've been known as the Memphis Mafia.
Among those closest to Elvis were Marty Lacker. He guarded the king's cash. Billy Smith, Elvis's cousin, close to the king because he was family. Lamar Fike, he had the smart answer to Elvis's every question. Sonny West, street fighter, who became a trusted bodyguard. Joe Esposito, leader of the pack. He left his wife to serve the king. Jerry Schilling, college boy, who helped smooth the mob's rough edges. And Larry Geller, hairdresser and guru.
I said I came home with good intentions about 5 or 6 years ago.
It's very hard to explain to somebody who didn't experience that relationship in all those years. It was an exclusive club. It was an exclusive brotherhood. I mean, we were like this, regardless of whether there was resentment at times or arguments at times or what have you. There was us and there was them. And them was everybody who was not in the group. As far as the pay was concerned, money, there basically was none. And when I first went to work for him, and I had a wife and a child, he paid me $45 a week.
You had tensions among the guys at times, pairing off, if you know what I mean. I can only tell you what I felt. There was times when Elvis was closer to one individual than he was others. And when that happened, you felt almost like, you know, what am I here for, you know? I think Elvis picked his own group and he studied them, you know. I mean, he didn't just hire them right on the spot. Hey, oh, he seemed like a real nice guy, you know. You had to be around him for a while.
In spite of all that I've been through.
Elvis surrounded himself with guys from his own side of town, streetwise and loyal, like hardman Sonny West.
Elvis and myself grew up in housing projects, government housing projects, which there was Lamar Terrace, where I was raised up, Lauderdale Courts, where Elvis was there. He did need someone, and I was athletic and everything, and a street fighter, and so it just, I mean, that's probably a lot to do with what he hired me for.
Well, if I had to do it, oh, that's exactly what I do.
On these mean streets, Elvis the teenager had wanted to look tough, look cool, look different from the crowd. And he chose companions who felt the same way.
The way I met Elvis was in the last year of high school at Humes High School in 1953. When I moved from New York to Memphis, I still wore the same type of clothes we wore in New York. And the guys in Memphis my age basically wore Levi's, a T-shirt, and had a crew cut, except one guy, and that was Elvis. And he basically dressed the same way we dressed in New York. And Elvis was a bit of a loner back then. He had maybe 3 or 4 friends that lived in the same housing project he did, and primarily was shy, did not really come out of his shell until a couple of talent shows, and the girls started screaming.
He was lovable, he was dangerous, everything a young kid would admire, you know. And I remember going home, saying a little prayer that night, saying, gosh, a real prayer, saying, I really wish he would be my friend.
For those Memphis kids in the early 50s, Elvis offered a brave new world of glamour, rebellion, and sex appeal. When they heard Elvis's first songs out of a tiny recording studio in Memphis, they knew a revolution was approaching. Sun Records had discovered a young white singer who sounded black and whose impact no one could foresee.
You are the only one I chose.
I mean, Elvis thought it'd last 4 or 5 years and be over with. You know, and it didn't. It kept on going. You know, Elvis was a very nice, humble, polite person. But I mean, he knew who he was. There was no doubt he knew who he was. And we knew who we were. And we knew that we were part of the elite, so to speak.
Unique home movies capture life on the road in the late 50s.
I got a feeling for you, baby, and you're the only one who knows.
Elvis did not make friends easy. He just didn't like to do it. And with us, he didn't have to do it. And with us, we all could be what we wanted to be, and he could be the same. We knew what made him tick, and he, of course, knew the same thing about us.
Because I'd seen Elvis entertain, you know, as a teenager, you know, and the movement was there even back then, but to see it, you know, full blown, actually in the concert, it was overwhelming. It really was.
Suede shoes, blue suede shoes, yeah. Blue suede shoes, baby. Blue suede shoes. Well, you can do anything but stay home for my blue suede shoes.
All these fans going wild and screaming, and you know, and I'm thinking, gosh, man, he's look here, look what this man's got, you know. We're not like the how part of it, you know. He was awesome, you know. I kind of studied Elvis, you know. I mean, I wanted to be so much like him. I mean, you know, I was just like any other, I guess, fan when it got right down to it. I liked to dress like him, you know, and Elvis was, to me, was just, you know, like a big brother, too, in a way.
I don't think before or ever since, ever seen that much things around. You know, I think you use the term things because when I say things, it's not only women, but there's, you know, cars and money and security and, you know, it's almost like you could walk on water. It was amazing. It was, you couldn't do anything wrong. We were like the disciples. Of course, I'm not comparing Elvis to Jesus, but it was the same sort of overall premise. You know, we were the group around him.
Like a ship.
But this was 1958, and the U.S. still felt threatened by Russia. So even Elvis couldn't escape the draft. He was shipped away for military service to Germany. But Elvis enjoyed publicity and privileges no other conscript was allowed, even taking some of his own gang to keep him company far away from home.
What now? What next? Where to?
The Army didn't know what to do with Elvis, and they didn't want the problem. I mean, they really did not want the problem. They got it full force, and it just, in fact, the matter is Eisenhower had put a secret blanket over Elvis to not let anybody know where he was or what he was doing. I mean, this came from the president.
I met him only about the last 7 months of his duty in the Army. And so he was over there for quite a while, so he had a lot of other good Army buddies, too. And he had a couple of friends from Memphis there. Lamar Fike was there. So they were always around.
We always would, you know, hang out and laugh and sing and stuff like that, and just do things to keep his life as normal as possible. And ours was so abnormal, we didn't know whether, you know, should I go blind. It was just really unbelievable, you know.
The first time I really felt I was around Elvis as a big star, we went on leave to Paris, France. Every place we walked, people were following Elvis, taking pictures of him, wanting his autograph, and that was the first experience for me of being around a big star. And I felt pretty good because I was with him. We were both single men, and being with him, he was a very good magnet. He attracted a lot of ladies. It was good for us. Every place we went, you know, we went to a couple of nightclubs in the evening and met beautiful ladies, and they were all come around, and we'd go to a hotel and talk and visit. And it was something new for me, I'll tell you that.
The chorus line at the Lido were a group of girls called the Bluebell Girls, and they're from England. We had a table right down near the front, and we were checking them out, and I turned around to him. I said, I guess we're going to have to go on an expedition here. And he said, yeah. I like that one, that one, that one. It was like picking out, you know, food in a delicatessen. And so we started getting the numbers and names, and so afterwards I told him, I said, I think we need to have a party over at the hotel. So one night we had all of them over there. The first night we had, it was, I want to say 25 or 30, I'm not sure what the number is, but just they were everywhere. 300 or 400 or 500 of us in a room together, and just, you know, if you died, it was a good time to do it, you know. And my phone rang, and I picked it up, and a guy on the phone said, sir, he said, it's 7:05. And I said, thank you. I thought it was the desk calling and telling me what time it was. I got into Elvis' room, it rang again, I picked up, and the guy said, sir, he says, any way you can help me? And I said, well, what do I need to do? And he said, you have the whole chorus line over at the hotel, and we can't start the show. And I said, you're serious? He said, yeah, we can't start the show. Fantastic. Some of my fondest memories are, the older you get, you look back on things like that and you go, good Lord, you know, it could never happen again. If it happened again, I'd turn into nothing but hair, teeth, and eyes. But, you know, you can't. Those are great times. They were great times.
Elvis was a very funny guy. He had a good sense of humor. He was really up. You know, a lot of people thought because he was in the service, he'd be depressed and not too happy. But He enjoyed his times there. I mean, he was very active, and I think he realized that the people in the Army respected him because he was a little concerned that they wouldn't like him. We had great times, a lot of laughs. We used to kid each other all the time and make fun of each other, and it was just like a bunch of rowdy guys.
But when the stepdaughter of an American soldier arrived at their flat in Bad Nauheim, life became a little strained. Her name, Priscilla.
The first time he met Priscilla, I happened to be at the house that evening when she was introduced to him. And when she walked in the door, I mean, very pretty young lady, but I didn't know how old she was at the time. And I figured she was about 16, but at the time she was 14, I find out later.
It just scared me to the point where I couldn't even breathe. It was just, she was just turned 14 and kind of uneasy, I told him one night, I said, I think we're all going to die. And he said, what do you mean? I said, if they catch you with this girl, I said, it's over with. I said, we're just going to have to just, maybe drink poison or something here. I said, our life is over with. Well, they spent a lot of time in the bedroom, but I don't know what kind of physical relationships they had. According to what she says, nothing happened, but isn't that always the case?
I'll forever love you for the rest of my days.
After Priscilla left Germany to live with Elvis in Graceland, 8 years would go by before they got married. Throughout the time they'd spend together, before and after the wedding, she would have to put up with Elvis's numerous affairs and compete with the guys for his affection. Exasperated by him and by them, she finally left Elvis for her karate instructor.
By the time he married her, it was getting old.
It's not supposition.
He didn't like being married.
Right. She couldn't change him. He didn't want to be married,
Look,
He didn't want to get married to her in the first place.
It was not.
He'd already been married to her for 5 years almost.
Is the fact that she thought that she was going to change him, number one.
Well, they all think that. Every woman's going to change their man.
And she was going to get rid of most of us.
Very few succeed.
She didn't succeed and didn't really try real hard until they got married. Once she had a ring on her finger is when she tried to separate Elvis from us.
Yeah.
The day he asked me to be the best man, he told me,
Yeah.
I don't want to get married.
Yeah. I mean, hell, he wore her out before they got married.
Because Elvis's lifespan with a woman was anywhere from 2 to 4 years.
I need to interject. It wasn't because he didn't love her.
No, he cared
He didn't
about
want to
her.
get married because he shouldn't have been married. He didn't want to marry
No, I know
her.
that. Yeah.
That's the key.
Elvis was he just loved women. It wasn't a case of, you just didn't think anything about it. It was just like having a cup of coffee in the morning,
And then came Hollywood. Vince!
Since returning from Germany, Elvis's dream was to be a movie star, the second James Dean. Hollywood beckoned, and the guys went too.
You should have heard this knocked out jailbird sing that rock. Everybody
In Hollywood, there were plenty of girls around, And on the sets, we had a lot of girls on the sets that we worked. Elvis liked them because they inspired him doing his numbers in the movie.
How dare you think such cheap tactics would work with me?
The first of his 29 films was tailored to his rebellious romantic image.
I need tactics, honey. It's just the beast in me.
Elvis had a tremendous draw to him emotionally and physically, where you looked at him and you thought, that is probably about the best looking man I've ever seen, And he just had a charisma about him. He had a way of pulling you in. People call it Southern charm. He had it in spades. There really wasn't much that Elvis couldn't get if he really went after it.
Elvis was constantly looking for something new to do, and you never knew what this man was going to come up with, I couldn't wait to start another day, I couldn't wait. It was exciting. We were with the greatest entertainer in the world, and being thrown into Hollywood too, and around other actors and artists, music artists. Ooh, gosh, it was such a fantastic feeling,
I was walking on cloud 9 for a long time. And I'm with Elvis, the biggest star in the world. That was pretty awesome. I mean, this kid from Chicago, from nowhere, off the streets, is here on top of the world. It was great, and I told Elvis that too one night. I says, I can't believe I'm here. I thought it was all a big dream. You know, we were making movies, 3 movies a year there, and it was fun.
It's dramatic excitement. It's moments of drama.
His later blockbusters, like Fun in Acapulco, revealed him as the glamorous hunk no woman could resist. And that was the truth.
The thing with Elvis is he had his own thing going with his co-stars, you know. And then there were some that we had affairs with.
But the affair that really hit the headlines was Elvis's on-set romance with Anne Margaret during Viva Las Vegas.
Her and Elvis just clicked. It was the chemistry was there between the two of them, and that movie was probably one of the best experiences of making a movie as far as having a good time out of all the movies.
Their well-publicized romance was good for box office and for the gang. With Priscilla tucked safely away in Graceland, Hollywood stars and starlets flocked into Elvis's arms. And the gang were more than ready to pick up the leftovers.
We got more ass than a toilet seat. I mean, it was just unbelievable. You know, it really was. It was a lot of pussy. There's no way in the world you can't get what you want, because, you know, we were the keys to the city, so to speak, and as a consequence, they had to run the gauntlet. And we were the gauntlet. So, you know, it worked.
Yeah, but
let's some of them never made it through, but they tried.
Let's clarify this. Let's clarify this.
We had no reality. We didn't
His
know.
music was his reality.
I mean, we would go, some days we'd be sitting down, and Sonny or Billy, you know, we'd be sitting down and I said, what the hell day is this? I mean, we did not even know what day it was. Remember that? Things were in such a gale rush.
We were Elvis's reality.
Yeah, we were.
We were his
got
touch
outside,
to the outside world.
You know, it worked.
Yeah,
it worked.
Well, we isolated him because of the fact that's what he wanted.
It was by choice.
Yeah.
It was almost like Alice in Wonderland. We didn't have to really, we could stay kids. The real world was pretty frightening. And he didn't like it, and I didn't like it. None of us liked it.
In the few short years since they'd left Germany, their world had become a dizzy mix of stardust, sex, and speed. And to cope with that 24-hour Hollywood lifestyle, the guys had turned to a little help from their chemical friends.
When Elvis came back out of the Army, he was over there. He was introduced to Benzedrine, and the same way with sleeping pills. And when he came back, you know, he was taking these things, and first thing you know, God, he was, hey man, we're going all night now. Maybe you need a little help here.
So we take a little speed to stay up the next day, and a lot of times we couldn't go to sleep because we were high, and we had to take a sleep pill to go to sleep. And we lived that way for a long time. We really lived hard.
So he said, I want to show you something. I said, okay. So out of his pocket came a little blue velvet case, a jewelry box, as a watch would come in or something like that. He said, open it up. Well, I opened it up, and it was just chock full of pills of every color you can think of. And I said, good God, what is this? And he said, here, let me give you a few, and this will help you stay awake. And so I kept taking them. I took them for 15 years.
You know, it was a magic potion, so to speak. It really was. It kept us going. You know, when you took them, everything got real bright. And fact of the matter is, the doctors call them mood elevators, and it'd strictly take it to the top. It really would. They were good.
When I went to work for him in '64, he had been back from the Army 4 years, and he did 2 or 3, good movies when he came back. But the movies were getting weaker and weaker, and the soundtracks were getting in some cases, more ridiculous and more ridiculous.
Hay colomitos inolvidables, inolvidables como las tardes, en con el lupio de la loma, en esas
I saw a little of the fun and excitement dwindling. Part of this is because of creative disappointment and challenges in Elvis's life, so that all filters down to us.
He was getting very frustrated, but he knew he had a contract. Elvis is a type person, he knew he was committed to these movies and he had to do them. He'd be mad about it, upset, he complained to us about it, but he knew he had a commitment. That's the way he was. He was very professional when it came to that. But he knew once he finished all those contracts, he was going to quit it, stop making movies. He wasn't getting the right material, songs, recording sessions, because he was doing soundtracks. And naturally, the soundtracks, songs had to fit scenes in the movie. So they're not typical, just, give me a song and I'll sing it. So that bothered him. And it wasn't too happy times. It was tough. Wasn't as exciting as it was in the early 60s.
The world has an image of the king, and rightly so. But behind the image, behind the lights and the makeup and the music, there was a real human being, a real person that had feelings that was entirely different, light years away to the image.
Larry Geller was a celebrity hairdresser who joined the gang in 1964. He would drive the Memphis Mafia into a jealous frenzy over his intimate friendship with the king.
Elvis had a beautiful head of hair. I mean, the man had everything. It lacked body, but he had a beautiful head of hair. He said, "Oh, great, great, great." And he swirled around in his chair. He looked and said, "But I want to ask you a question. My hair is great, but what's more important to me is this. What are you really into, Larry? What are you really all about?" It really threw me for a loss for a moment. I mean, here's a person who was totally straightforward. And I said, "Elvis, I mean, you know that I work with celebrities and I do their hair. But what's more important to me than anything else is my search for truth."
My take on Larry Geller, basically at first he seemed like a nice guy. Larry was very quiet spoken. But then he started introducing his Far Eastern, what I call California cult crap.
I told him about my earlier life and how I began my search. I told him about the books I read, about my interest in all the various great world religions, my interest in yoga, my interest in health foods.
It was not something I was interested in. I wasn't interested in all these different philosophies of life and why we're here and all that stuff. I didn't care. I was just having a good time.
And at that point, Elvis said to me, "You know, Larry, what you have to say, what you're talking about, this is what I secretly think about. I mean, I have no one to really talk to about these things. But I think about this, especially at night when I'm going to bed. There's got to be a reason, a purpose why I was plucked out of all the millions and millions of lives to be Elvis."
After Larry Geller joined the group for a while, it wasn't as much fun anymore. So it was bugging a lot of us. Yeah, a lot of us, we talk about it many times. Man, I wish he'd stop reading these books. What happened to the good times and the parties we used to have. It sort of split the group up a little bit.
I see my light come shining from the west down to the east. Any day now, I shall be relieved.
Elvis and I used to come to this park. This park is like an oasis in this maddening world, and Elvis used to love to come here. And there's certain strategic positions along this path. There are little placards, little signs. One of them says, "Everything else can wait, but our search for God cannot wait." Elvis loved that.
I shall be relieved.
Now the Memphis Mafia would find their loyalties tested as Elvis took them into uncharted regions.
We were driving from Memphis to Los Angeles to make a movie. He drove, I sat next to him. And we traveled across country on Route 66. We went through the panhandle of Texas, through New Mexico, into Arizona, and it was just about sunset. And the sky was iridescent blue. And all of a sudden, Elvis said, "Look, look, do you see what I see?" And I looked in the sky. There was a little cloud. It doesn't matter who would have been sitting next to Elvis, they would have saw what he saw. It was a definitive picture of the face of Joseph Stalin with the big eyebrows and the mustache. I said, "Wow, yeah, I see it. Yeah, look at that." And Elvis says, "What the hell is he doing up there?" I said, "I don't know." And I looked at Elvis, and all of a sudden his jaw dropped, his eyes opened wide, and he gasped for breath. He went, and he turned around, and tears are streaming down his face. And he said, "Man, I saw that face of Stalin, and Stalin was like the Antichrist." And all of a sudden, I saw a lightning bolt come from that cloud. It pierced my heart in every cell of my body. He said, "Larry, I just had the experience of my life. I just saw the truth. God just touched me. How can I go back and make these damn fluffy, teeny bopper movies that have no substance? They don't mean anything. What are they doing for this world? How are they helping people? How can I be a part of something like that now? No, man, no. I'm done. Man, I should just join a monastery. I want you to find me a monastery. I should become a monk." And Elvis looked at me, he said, look at me. Can you imagine if the fans saw me like this?" I said, "Hey, Elvis, if they saw you like this and they know what you went through, they love you only more."
He just wanted to know about all different kinds of aspects of life. He was always searching for something. We didn't know what it was, but as life went on, we realized that he wanted to know why he was here. Why was he picked to be this person?
But Elvis's navel-gazing never lasted long. By the late 60s, he was craving the excitement of live shows to relieve the numbing boredom of his Hollywood routine. Las Vegas offered him and the guys a 24-hour-a-day party, an endless line of credit and showgirls on tap. To the guys, this was more like Nirvana than anything Larry Geller could offer.
We had a thing in the group. We used to call everybody outside the group normals. "Oh, it's just a normal I met," you know. And the reason we call them normals was because that's what they were. They were normals. They had this thing that they did it like 9 to 5, and we didn't, you know, you just didn't associate with them.
Well, since my baby left me, I found a new place to dwell.
We were like bats. When the sun started coming up, we thought we would probably turn to ashes. We lived in an insulated world within our own group. Somebody said that Elvis really never left his bedroom. Well, he didn't. Elvis would get on his airplane bedroom and go to a hotel bedroom, and would go from a hotel bedroom to his Graceland bedroom. So Elvis would just go from bedroom to bedroom. It was almost like Howard Hughes.
With a break on the stage in between.
It's like Elvis had a fascination with Howard Hughes, and he lived the same way in a lot of
Reclusive
ways. Elvis didn't.
Power.
He had the same thing as a Capricorn, so he had this thing, and so consequently, it reflected on us. I mean, we did not get out and fool with people. I didn't want to, and you're protected. It was a very insulated world. Nobody could get to you, and you know, it was comforting. It was like a big womb. The impact of Las Vegas on Elvis was simple. It was horribly demanding of him. Can you imagine 30 days?
I know it.
Nobody
2 shows a
alive
night.
does that anymore.
60
I mean,
shows.
It was, if anything, put him in the grave early. It was that.
Yeah.
This town beat him to death. You know.
Can't you hear me when I call? I say you ain't the big no, you just told us all. Yeah, keep on.
But when he crank these shows out like this, the monotony of it became so unbelievable that, you know, a lot of times he would do a show and not even remember what he did.
Yeah, the energy he expended.
And what he did to keep himself going was absolutely, I think, the key that opened the door to these problems.
I mean, he's the one that started experimenting with the downers.
We had a thing called Placidels.
Yeah.
And I remember one night I took 7 or 8
loved
of them.
those.
There were
Elvis loved
750 Placidels.
The
We
green
got so that we
bombs.
would punch a hole in them.
Make them act fast.
Drain the stuff come out of it.
Where
It
they
scared
were
it scared the
hypnotic.
hell out of- they were
These things, when you took them on an empty stomach,
Oh.
anywhere from 20 minutes to 30 minutes, you just all of a sudden just go
You
out.
hear a hum.
You just go out.
You know, you really had to have something to keep you going. I don't think at the rate of speed we went,
warp.
Yeah, warp speed, that we could have literally survived being normal.
Mr. Presley, when do you think you've outlasted every other entertainer from the 50s and, for that matter, the 60s as well?
I take vitamin E.
Are you satisfied with the image you've established?
Well, the image is one thing, and a human being is another, you know. So it's very hard to live up to an image, I'll put it that way.
Elvis's image was the inspired creation of his manager, Colonel Tom Parker. But to the guys, the Colonel was a threat. He had dictated Elvis's Hollywood roles in the 60s and was now pushing an exhausted Elvis through an even more grueling schedule in Las Vegas, raking in millions with one hand while tossing it away with the other.
Colonel Parker probably was one of the most degenerate gamblers I've ever known in my life.
I like to live up to my reputation of being a nice guy. This is it, folks.
He played roulette and would put chips on every number. In a period of an hour and a half, he lost over $1.25 million. I turned around and looked at him. I said, "You know, you got to be wealthy." I said, "Good God." He said, "Well, it all works out in the end."
From a jack to a king.
The great precipitation of problems with Elvis and the Colonel was over his gambling. And Elvis believed toward the end, that the reason he was playing the hotels was trying to pay off the Colonel's debts.
From a jack to a king. With no regrets, I stacked the cards last night. And Lady Luck played her hand just right. Oh, you made me king of your heart.
It was getting difficult because a lot of us were married now, had kids, and we were there partying. We weren't there just to get away to relax. We were out having dates and different girls everywhere, and little by little, it was getting back around different ways to them, and it was causing a lot of problems among all of us, you know. I got divorced because of it, and some of the other guys, and as you know, Priscilla left Elvis because she found out about all our playing around. They were married, and we were single, basically what it was. It was tough. It was tough for them, and I could understand everything that they did and how rotten we were. I mean, we really, really were bad.
When we first got married and all, it was tough. It really was. And it made it very difficult for me and Joe, you know, because she sees Elvis as a threat. She can't understand his hold over me, you know. She wants me all by herself, you know. And torn between two worlds. And sometimes it was hell, it really was.
I mean, the internal pressure that he could, you know, conjure up on everybody was just absolutely horrendous. I mean, it would drive you to drink and distraction because, I mean, he could ratchet up the pressure better than any mortal alive.
Yeah, he had changed a lot. His mood swings were more frequent. Elvis Presley was always an upbeat person. He really was. And I guess that's one of the things, boy, that made you like to be a part of that, because he was.
I'm gonna hold my baby as tight as I can. Tonight she'll know I'm a mighty, mighty man. I heard you.
And then to see him have these mood swings, you know, more frequent, and it was scary, you know, it really was. And I didn't like it. To be honest with you, I just didn't like it at all.
His temper was like a black cloud when it came in full blown, buddy. It was a Category 5 tornado, okay? It just covered all the area around, the whole room.
And he'd say things that you've never heard before in your life. He would string expletives together and make words that you've never heard of. And he'd be mad, but he'd stay mad for maybe 30 minutes, and then it'd be over. He fired us en masse 10 times. Every one of you guys, get the fuck out of here. Go on home.
I said, look, I quit. I'm out of here. He said, you can't quit, you're fired. I said, whatever, Elvis. I said, I'm out of here. So I start to go, leave the room. He gets around in front of me, confronts me. All of a sudden, he hit me. Went to his karate stance. My head just kind of turned like this here, and I turned around and I looked at him. He's the only man that ever hit me I didn't hit back. And I looked at him and I said, I never thought you could do that, Elvis. Tears started coming down my eyes. I turned and walked away. If I had hit him, I would have hurt him bad. Like, I hit awful hard. My whole fighting situation was hit hard and fast and put him down. And I loved him too much to hit him. But like hit my brother, you don't.
If you could see you through my eyes instead of your ego.
Whenever possible, Elvis would go home with the guys to Graceland to enjoy the bizarre privacy of his retreat.
Walk a mile in my shoes. There's a walk a mile in my shoes. Yeah, before you abuse.
I think the old story is, you know, walk a mile in his shoes and see things through his eyes really is true. I think that Elvis saw things we didn't see. He saw problems that we didn't see because he looked beyond a certain point that we didn't look. Because he was really the sole supporter of everything and everybody. And I think that all the things, medications, things he was involved in, changed his personality. And I think it made him a little meaner. And you had to deal with that. The difficulty was that Elvis really sometimes became his own worst enemy. He didn't take care of his health like he should have. I remember Elvis in 1957, 56, 57, he would eat crisp bacon, sliced tomatoes, mashed potatoes and gravy, and sauerkraut, believe it or not, and mix it all together and eat it, and loved it. The last years of Elvis's life, he went back to eating mashed potatoes, sauerkraut, sliced bacon. And I said, you know what you're doing here? What do you mean? I said, you're back, it's the way you used to eat in 57. He said, never thought about that. That was another sign to me. Just signs would pop up, and I would see his health decline.
Well, it's Christmas time, pretty baby, told him, and the snow is falling on the ground.
At night, even at the house, we'd sit and watch TV all night long. Or the TV would be on and the sound would be off, and we'd be talking, or we'd be playing music. That was our idea of having a good time. But the rumors were we were up there having homosexual orgies. It's funny to me today because, see, on Friday night and Saturday night, Elvis used to let all the girls in that hung around the gates. And one Saturday night, just for the hell of it, I was bored. So I went around the house and I counted all the women that were in the house with us 7 guys. And this is not an exaggeration. there was 152 women there. So much for being gay.
You know the landlord rang my front door.
All the guys took very well care of him. You know, we weren't getting big amounts of money. We did a decent living, but he paid for everything. He'd buy a new car, bonuses after all the tours, everything we did. A vacation together, first-class vacation, pay for all first-class travel. We had everything.
Money, honey, money, honey, if you want to get along with me.
The guys lived high all through the 70s, and Elvis helped to pay their debts. He even bought them the houses they lived in. But the king didn't need to buy their allegiance with gifts.
He liked to share his wealth and his good times with all his friends and people. And he loved giving gifts away. When he got famous and had made a lot of money, he enjoyed sharing his wealth with other people.
Money, honey.
He loved to see people's reactions on their face when he gave him something they would never expect to give. Never expect to get a diamond ring, a big diamond ring, or a brand new car. Total strangers. And he would see the look in their eyes, they couldn't believe what was happening to them. That thrilled the hell out of him. It really made him feel good.
The two hardest things in Elvis's life to say was, "I'm sorry and thank you." He just didn't do it well. And he would do this by doing that, by giving you a car or giving you money or this. That was his way of saying, hey, thank you a lot, I love you, and the whole thing. It just, I mean, he just could not, he had trouble with those words.
We did what we wanted to do, and that's the way we lived the life. When Elvis was happy, we were happy. Elvis was miserable, we were miserable. It was really funny. It was really strange that way. And when I think back at it, it was pretty weird.
Elvis was very unpredictable. When you thought you got to know Elvis, the next day you'd meet a different guy. But that same person could be a very physical, outgoing guy's guy. And this could go on for a couple of years. Fighter, tough guy. And about the time you bought him a gun for Christmas, he was into Bibles.
He always had a fondness for guns. We used to, as an example, even in the very early 60s, we used to go snake hunting. There was this lake near Graceland. We'd take shotguns. One time, he almost shot Joe Esposito. He always had that fondness, but it got even more when he started putting it in terms of protection. We used to joke because he used to have a gun here, and a gun here, and a gun here, and a gun in his boot, and a gun in his back, and he'd just go out to go to the movies.
You know, the paranoia is like, you know, it's unexplainable at times. And he really, you know, he just got terribly insecure. I mean, Elvis had a lifestyle that, I mean, when you have, it's kind of like a rat running around in that wheel. And once you get on that wheel, you can't get off. And his lifestyle was so that he had to work. He had to do this. Yeah. And as a consequence,
felt like he had to do it.
Well, I know
That's
that,
the
but
thing
also, listen, Billy, you cannot have what he had and paid who he paid. I can tell you, in 23 years, I never missed a paycheck.
No, nobody.
And yet, nobody did. And I'm telling you that at times, I know that he didn't have the money and borrowed to pay us.
He borrowed against the
I
challenge,
sat down with
sure.
Colonel one day, I said, you know what? I said, every damn thing that you're shooting your mouth off. He got really mad at me. In fact, he called Elvis to fire me once again. And I said, you got to get him out of the country. I said, we've worn this country out.
You have got to get him around the world. I don't care about security. I don't care about anything. You got to get him out.
I got to tell you this, Lamar, and this is in defense of the Colonel. It's a fact.
Fuck the
Colonel Parker was concerned about the drugs and the guns in the other countries. He
was
said
concerned about
he
himself.
cannot get away with carrying those guns. He cannot get away with those
concerned
pills.
about himself, too.
He can't do it.
I'll break it, burn it, drag it all around.
In 1975, what I had been seeing a little bit of the previous year or so was getting worse, and I was very concerned about his health. And it wasn't like it had been before when he was taking the uppers and the sleeping pills. When he started experimenting with the, the down stuff, that's when we started getting concerned, all of us, not just me. The down stuff is like Demerol and things like that, pain medication that brings you and lets you down and you kind of just float, Dilaudid is like a synthetic and is 5 times more powerful than pure morphine. He was taking those, he was taking liquid Demerol, he was just things that these doctors would give him, and it just burned us up.
It was tough. It got to a point where a lot of guys didn't want to talk about it. We were just so upset about it. So try to block it out of our mind and hope it wouldn't happen. He'd always sort of say, "Hey, I know what I'm doing in my life. I'll be fine. I'm preoccupied with other things right now, and that's all we could do." And the only enjoyment he got probably in the last couple of years of his life when he was on stage.
I think there was too much pain in Elvis at that point, from going through divorce and wanting to be back with Priscilla, not being able to tour overseas. His health was giving away. He did not want to admit anything was wrong. He was Elvis Presley. Here's a guy that helped everybody else. If you were sick, not just with money though, he helped you talk things through, whatever else. I don't think he got the reciprocal from his friends,
I get pissed off, and I get pissed off with the people that help contribute to it, and not just the doctors, and not just the guys that got the stuff to him, but I get pissed off at Elvis. He was a smart man, he knew what he was doing, but he denied it.
Well, hello there. It's been a long...
These rarely seen holiday movies from Lamar Fike capture the last carefree days the guys ever spent with Elvis.
How am I doing? Oh, well, I guess I'm doing fine.
The last vacation in March of 1977, we all went to Hawaii. We had a great time. He was in a great mood. He was out there on the beach having a good time. He was overweight at the time, but he was smiling. And we thought, hey, this is a good chance. He cleaned his act up for about 30 days or more. But then all of a sudden, boom, right back again. We were all very frustrated. But we all could do, only thing we could do is that. We can't, he's 42 years old. You can't force this man to do anything. People say, why did you guys have him committed? How could I have him committed? He's 42 years old. I can't have him committed. Even his father couldn't have him committed. You can't prove he's crazy. So your hands are tied. Your hands are tied.
Elvis had a lot of physical problems that were really eating away at him. He had glaucoma. He had hypertension. Do you know that every night after a show, his blood pressure would shoot up to 180, 200 every night? And that's a tremendous strain on the heart. Elvis had a spastic, twisted colon. I can't tell you the problems that plagued him because of it. How uncomfortable he was, and how his body, especially the lower part of his body, started to blow up and balloon. So the doctor was giving him medications every night to go to sleep. And I say medications. Euphemistically, we're talking about poison. That's really what it was. Elvis was abusing them. He's responsible, but he's also a victim. The combinations of these drugs were lethal, no question about it.
So I ran upstairs. I go into the bathroom, and Elvis had fell over. He was laying on the floor. I turned him over, and I knew he was dead. I just knew it.
His body was found on the floor in an embryonic position with a book clutched to his chest. Elvis died reading about Jesus.
It was the Memphis Mafia who helped bear the weight of Elvis's coffin at his funeral.
Lord, the things I've seen and done, most of which I'd be ashamed to tell. I don't know how it started. That's what makes a man, I guess.
When Elvis died, it was like a train stopping. I know for about a year after Elvis died, I couldn't hear. I was almost deaf. It was like, they say that the accident doesn't kill you, it's the stopping that kills you. And the stopping, it stopped. It went to a screeching halt.
My best friend is dead. No matter what you want to say, that's the biggest loss to me I've ever had. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think of Elvis. Thanks to Elvis, I survived Elvis Presley.
There's times when it'll hit me and sometimes it's happy, sometimes it's sad. Things I've seen that, oh God, that was funny, he would have loved this, and laugh about it. But it's always there, every day, He's been there for the last 25 years, and ever how long I live, he'll continue to be there.
I wouldn't trade those years or the relationship that I had, not just with Elvis, but with all the guys, for anything in the world. We were part of history, entertainment history, and actually cultural history, because of how he affected the culture of the world and changed it.
A lot of times I think back, I said, he was 42, he died very young. But very few people will ever live it in their whole lives, what he did in those years. I mean, we lived a wild and fast life in those matter of years that he was on Earth. I wish he would have changed and did it our way, but he did it his way. And I'll be loyal to him till I die.
All the pieces of my life, they're everywhere, and the one I miss most of all is you, and you know who. Looking back on my life, Lord, to see if I can find the pieces. Looking back on my life today, to see if I can find the pieces. Looking back on my life, God help me find the pieces.
Through Liberty X. Ronan Keating.
Poor little baby child is born in the ghetto.
McCalmonson Butler.
I feel my temperature rising.
And Dermot.
Let's rock. Everybody, let's rock.
Commemorating the 25th anniversary of his death, Elvis Recovered, Friday at 8:30 on BBC Choice.